Good evening, Vancouver, and welcome back to Canucks After Dark for the final time in 2022. Happy Boxing Day, Merry Christmas. As always, joined by my co-host, Canuck Clay. How are you doing today, Clay?
Parker, can I tell you that I missed you? I missed everyone here. I know we didn't do a show last week because you were busy. I was out of town. So it has been 2 weeks, so we got a lot to catch up on. But really quickly, Merry Christmas to you and all your colleagues and your family as well. And as you know, I got out to LA. I got out to California. It was perfect. I left as the snow started, and I came back as I guess all the snow got washed away. And in the middle of that spent 5 days Disneyland, California. So I cannot complain. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, you dodged a few bullets, I will say. It was an absolute disaster out here over the last week or so, but and there's now zero trace of it after the rain of the last couple of days. It looks just like any other Vancouver day. You would never know the amount of pain that that the area had. But no,
How were your 2 weeks? How were your 2 weeks?
My 2 weeks were good. Had good Christmas with the family and everything over the last couple of days, so can't complain here as well. And yeah, I mean, 2 weeks where we haven't really talked because obviously you were away. I was thinking about doing something last Monday, and then obviously the Canucks game, I think, was a 7:30 start, and they got killed. So I was like, let's take it easy. But they do get a couple of wins this last week, which is what we'll focus on more so than the pain of the week prior.
Yeah, it's weird. In the last 2 weeks, Parker, I'm looking. They played only 5 games. So, it always seems like the Canucks play all these games and they're always ahead and we're waiting for other teams to catch up. It's nice that the shoe's on the other foot, so to speak. So when you're looking at the playoff race, if you still want to do that, they actually have games in hand on other teams, and that rarely happens. And that's because they've played 5 times in the last, 17, 18 days.
Yeah, they have had a lot of time off. And it is weird to look at the standings and think, oh, well, maybe they have a chance. But you look at like the odds makers and they're like, no, they're done. But we'll, of course, get to that as well. We do have a looks like a Christmas donation from Lucas. Thank you very much, Lucas, with the 20, saying, going to say this, despite some unfortunate things happened, 2022 was his best year personally.
Awesome.
End of your 30s, getting recognized on the by the team, by the John Bushron. Yeah, that's great.
That's good.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Lucas.
Yeah, and thank you for the donation, not just tonight, Lucas, but for your support throughout the year and everyone. And we're not going to, it's not like we're going anywhere next week, but it is the last, as Parker mentioned, the last show of the year. So we're not doing any best of or recap, but it's always a chance to take pause and just, be thankful for this community and the fact that we're still going strong on here. So Lucas, thank you. And thanks to everyone who's been supporting us for, I guess, a year and a half now, which is awesome.
Yeah, almost 2 years in April, which is crazy.
Pretty cool.
All right, where do we start tonight? Because the Canucks haven't played in 3 days. They do play tomorrow night. There was the World Juniors that started today, not in a great way for Canada, but was some, just entertaining hockey, I will say. But where should we begin?
Well, I think I always say this, and maybe you set me up for the softball. We are Canucks After Dark, not Canada After Dark, but I think we should talk about the World Juniors in a bit because there's some Canucks players, there's some NHL players, but maybe we could probably blow through because I can't remember now the shootout win over Calgary on the 14th, and I certainly don't want to remember the 5-1 losses back to back. I don't know about you. You don't talk about those at all.
Nope, we can skip all that. Canucks, same story, right? Canucks win on the road, they lose 2 games at home. That was the epitome of those 3 games. But we should just start with the games from last week, the ones that are somewhat fresh in our memory, the back-to-backs.
Yeah.
Canucks Kraken on Thursday, and then Canucks Oilers on Friday.
Now, I think you're in a good position. Well, I was out of town for both these. I was able to catch both games. No, the Thursday night game, I watched live. Actually, I streamed from my hotel room, took the kids to California. I said, kids, I have some priority. No, I didn't say that, but I was wiped out by that old man, right? So Gail and I watched the game in the hotel room. That was kind of cool. And then Friday night, I did not watch, but so at least I was able to catch up a little bit. But you were at the game on Thursday, it sounds like.
Yep, I was at the game. Going into the Canucks again undefeated against the Kraken all time, coming into this one, which was nice. And but yeah, it's It was a game that had a not a great start, pretty slow burn first period, bad second period, and then really the last basically hour of the time there, from like 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. That was prime time,
Yes.
for this game. So yeah, we get Jared McCann scoring against his former team. Classic.
By the way, when he scores, Parker, do you out of 10? Do you have any not remorse, regret? Do you recall that he got drafted the same year as Vertanen and they're both gone? Do any of that?
No, not at all. Because he wasn't very good here.
Correct.
Right? Like he just wasn't.
Yeah.
But he scored 4 of his last 5 games now, which is good for him. But so they open the scoring, and then Lane Pettersson ties it up. His first as a Canuck. That nice little Pettersson saucer pass over to Pettersson to Peterson. It's so hard. Peterson sort of taps it in. So Canucks get out of the first period tied at 1. It was a pretty even first period, but pretty uninspired. I would have said.
If you were telling me before we press record where your seats were, so that means that Peterson goal is right in front of you, then right on that corner, right in front of you.
Yeah.
Look, that was a pretty skilled goal, and I liked how Pettersson was saying about Peterson that he's easy to play with because he has a lot of skill. And man, maybe we're going to revisit this in a little bit, especially if we can re-sign Ethan Bear. But Bear and Peterson for a fifth round pick, that could turn out to be a really good trade for the Canucks.
Yeah, it really is looking nice at this point, right? We're talking about a guy who, in Lane Pettersson, to go off a tangent here, but he's got 17 goals in 18 games in the AHL. Yeah, like he is scoring every single night in Abbotsford. 24 points, 17 goals, only 7 assists, and somehow only a +3. Maybe he's really good on the power play.
So he's like their version of Bo Horvat, basically.
Yeah, potentially. And and then he comes here. I mean, now he's got 2 points in 4 games here. That's
good.
He's 1 point off of a career high, which is pretty good. And yeah, you look at his last year in San Jose where he had 2 points, but was a -16 in 29 hockey games. Not great, but he was only 25 years old, right? He was undrafted, but we're talking about a 25-year-old player and Ethan Bear for a 5th-round pick. I mean, you could easily turn the two of them around and have improved on your haul at that point.
Wow. So good. Awesome. So 1-1, you're saying evenly played, but not the most exciting period of hockey. Fair to say?
No, nothing too excited. And then the Canucks decide to allow 2 goals in 10 seconds. Again, right in front of me. It's an Oliver Bjorkstrand goal, Daniel Sprong goal. 2 goals in 10 seconds. The life is gone from the building. Everyone's just like, oh, okay. And then Elias Pettersson makes it interesting, right? He gets his 14th from Shannon Kuzmenko. This is the tip.
Yeah. Yes.
So that shot was sort of like right at him, and he tried to like put a stick here and chop down. Outstanding tip. And it's 3-2. Yep. And then they would add another one. The Kraken, Wenberg would score to make it 4-2 after 2 periods.
Yeah, if I remember the Bjorkstrand, that was wasn't that the giveaway from Mikheyev? And then it went the other, or maybe that was the mechanical. One of them, Mikheyev, kind of did a blind pass back to the middle.
Yeah, it was a 2-on-1, that Bjorkstrand one.
Then the Sprong one, what was that again? Oh, yeah, off the face-off. So what's weird, Parker? I was remember this. It's 10 seconds between goals, yet there was still time to get because that was off a face-off in the Canuck zone. Man.
So they just got it in and got on that.
Right.
Oh yeah, that McCann. Wait, am I going crazy? Was the McCann goal the one from outside of the zone, or was that in the Edmonton game?
No, you're right. That was McCann.
I forgot about that.
What was the reaction when you saw that?
We just sort of looked, like me and my buddies over there. We just sort of looked at each other. We're like, that's not good. That's not good.
Yeah. I do remember the Wenberg goal. Martin, because we talked about this, Martin plays quite aggressively outside of his crease. I remember he was being very aggressive and he was kind of sliding left to right in the puck. I noticed Martin gives up a lot of rebounds too, not just because of his loud pads, but that was one where he made a save. It kind of dropped in front of him, and then the Seattle Kraken player made a really nice pass. Martin's going this way, and then basically Wenberg had the open net.
Yeah.
So
after 2, it's 4-2, and the spirits are pretty low at Rogers Arena. People aren't thinking that that's going too well. We do get, though, 5 minutes into the third period, we get a little Andrei Kuzmenko goal, and that was what happened there. That was the sweet pass from Lane Pettersson. where it went from Pettersson across to Peterson, all the way back across to Kuzmenko, and he misses it, and it's a hard pass, and it hits his skate. He's able to sort of shovel it in, wide open net on Martin Jones, not the best goalie, but an impossible save, really, right? Like it's but cross crease in a matter of seconds. It's a tough one. So,
and again, right in front of you.
Yeah, it was a great goal. Kuzmenko usually doesn't get fired up for tap-ins, right? You'll see it on the power play. He'll have a stick on the ice. He'll tip it in. He won't celebrate at all. This one, he had some life. He was fired up. And it's 4-3. And then a minute later, Daniel Sprong scores again, and it's 5-3.
Right, and this is the one where Tyler Myers put it up the middle, right? Like behind.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, he tried the little backhand weak pass up the middle, and then he's on his stomach while Sprong tucks it in the back door. So yeah, it was just Tyler Myers,
Wow. And just before we keep going, Lucas, thank you. Another donation from Lucas. Appreciate the Christmas spirit. I guess we continue to crack a few heads in Seattle. Sure, I'll take that, man. If you donate, you can say any joke you want. That's great. Thank you, Lucas.
And then a few minutes later, the Canucks get a power play opportunity. I don't remember what the penalty was, but I'm sure I can figure it out. It was a slash. Yanni Gourde with a slash, and we get a Brock Besser goal. Again, right place, right time. That's how Besser scored all of his goals this year. Basically, he's been a pretty good net front guy, and he, a shot or slap pass from Elias Pettersson right on the backhand tape. Besser tips it in, and it's 5-4. And the Canucks had like 11 minutes of life. 11 minutes left to get one goal.
How'd you feel in the building after Besser scored? Do you think it was inevitable? It's easy to say now, or were you still worried at the time?
I think it was one of those things where it's like, okay, it's 5-4. Yeah. I don't think 5 goals wins this game for either team, right? Like it was like I think the Kraken could very well score again, right? Yeah. It's not that the Canucks are gonna have their foot on the gas the whole way. And there were some chances both ways, but as time gets a little lower, it gets a little scarier, and you stop, you're like, all right, well, they're running out of time here, but they pulled the goalie pretty early.
Yes.
And then they get an Elias Pettersson goal. That's a sweet pass across from JT Miller. Yeah. The one-timer. Jones again has no chance on that because it's just all the way across the ice, just a rocket pass, rocket shot. Just like an unbelievable goal. Like the place was going crazy at that point. And Pettersson was trying to fire the crowd up. Like you don't see that very often, right? Like you could tell that he was so fired up.
And then, I sound like a broken record. And every time I say, and that happened right in front of me, and people watching will say, well, Clay's got a 50-50 chance if it was in front of him or not, depending on which end. But no, Parker's seats, if the way he explained it to me, they're actually in the corner, that same corner where all the Canucks goals were being scored from the goalie's left, the team's right.
Yeah, I was on the right side. I was on the correct side that game. I got to see most of the goals.
What a shot! What a shot!
Yeah, sweet goal. We go to OT. OT was pretty action packed, but no one is able to capitalize. And then we get that shootout. And Miller scores in the second round. He's so good in shootouts. JT Miller just coming in slow and picking his spot. But then Everly answered it, and then it was kind of weird to me that Pettersson went last, but it worked out, and I still don't know how he got the puck under the pad of Martin Jones, because Martin Jones was with him that whole way, and the pad was down, and somehow the puck went under it. You even see, if you watch the replay, the ref does a goal, like he waves off and immediately turns it into a goal signal, because it looked like it was an easy save, and it took a second to get under. So 5 points, 2 goals, 3 assists, and a shootout winner after coming back from being sick for a week is not too bad.
And then Harm Dow, I know he did a nice breakdown in the Athletic, and he said, the way that Pettersson kind of came in slow, then exploded to his left, which would be on his forehand. Just make that explosion, and then you're right, Martin was with him, but I guess he shot it with so much force that
he shoved it through.
Wow, it was basically so nice. And then Shorthouse, it's funny. I don't know if you heard the replay, Parker. Shorthouse lets out a very loud yes, like you could tell he was happy.
and the clips of it, it seems like that was the only part of the call
Yeah.
But as Pettersson starts, he says, "Does Pettersson have more magic in him?" or something like that.
Okay.
And then he was sort of answering his own question.
Sure.
But like if you watch the highlight package, it cuts it and it just says, "Yes," and that's all. But yeah, I mean that's what I said too when it happened. When it happened, I think I filmed it on my phone and everyone was
sweet.
fired up.
You catch Boudreaux after the game. He said he actually wanted PD to shoot because the last two shootouts he's deked and he's gotten stopped. But he also said PD's very stubborn.
That's fair, and he deserves to be at that point.
5 points.
Canucks get a nice win over Seattle.
Yeah.
Seattle gets a point out of it, and they remain in the playoff spot. Right, they're third in the Pacific with games in hand. But they are faltering a little bit. They've only won 4 of their last 10.
Good.
And then they went back to back, what we would call a scheduled loss on so many factors, right? Back to back. They had to travel to Edmonton. There was, they didn't get into, they had a shootout the night before. They didn't get into Edmonton till like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Colin Delia is your goalie, right? And you're against Connor McDavid. Like you're against a fast team that should just be able to run away from you. And that is how it looked in the first period, right? It's 2-0 after the first. Connor McDavid getting his 30th goal of the year in the first period, which is a great season for most players.
Yeah.
How many games into the year are we at?
They've played 35.
They've played 35, so he's going to score 70. But either way, yeah. So first period, Canucks are down 2, and they looked pretty bad.
So you have to help me. So Parker, this game I did not watch. We were at Gail's relative's place, so I was following on my phone as inconspicuously as I could. But is it true that Delia was really standing on his head for basically the whole first period?
Yeah, he was good. I would like he made some really solid saves, and it was one of those ones where you look and you're like, okay, that's like for a backup goalie, he is killing it, right? He's he's doing his job, and the Canucks looked bad in the first period. They looked pretty bad. Right. But then we get to the second period, and the Canucks get some life early with a lucky one, right? One of those ones that. Sometimes you just need a bounce, and for JT Miller, who hadn't had I don't think he had an even strength goal in like a month almost. Wow. JT Miller, and he has that clapper that goes like off the shoulder a mile into the air, and then behind.
I think it actually hit Skinner's shoulder again, like the back of the shoulder,
popped up, but it was wacky. And then he also scores a power play goal to end the period. So the Canucks are at 2-2. They are now on the other side of a blown multi-goal lead. And they just come out firing. I mean, the third period, Bo Horvat gets 2 of them, including one with, I think on the empty net. Nice Mikheyev goal using his speed. Just like, honestly, one of those ones that was just like a good all-around team effort where it's nice to see, Horvat get 4 points. That'll help maybe his trade value. Yeah. Just a good all-around game from the Canucks. And Colin Delia, 24-20 or 31 of 33, right? That's a pretty good night for your third stringer.
Yes. I love what you said though, Parker, about how it had all the makings of a schedule loss for sure. And then you could tell the longer they hung around, the more they believed, especially erasing that 2-goal deficit in the second. And then did you see the celebrations after Horvat and Mikheyev scored? They were pumped. They maybe they knew it was Christmas. Maybe they knew that that they're going to be off for 3 days, but they really wanted this game. It was wonderful to see. And aren't they something like 10 or 11-2 now against the Pacific Division, which is awesome. I think
it's 11-2 against the Pacific.
Yeah.
Which is a very surprising stat line. They're 9-6-2 on the road, right? They've been a good team on the road, and if you can extrapolate that road record out across your entire season, that would be a great record. But they've been just so bad at home. Talking about road records, I just saw this corner of my eye here on the NHL page. Vegas, top of the Pacific Division. You know what their road record is?
The way you're talking, it's going to be very good. It's going to be like
they're 10-9. They're 10-9 at home, but they're 14-2-1 on the road. So that's why they're doing so good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I get distracted if I lived in Vegas too.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, but you'd think the other teams would be struggling, when they come into town, but who knows?
Yes. Oh, yeah, off the top of your head. So we acknowledge there's 2 Pacific Division. I'll give you one, the season opener against Edmonton. What was our other loss against the Pacific? I don't know. I'm looking it up. So
I feel like they've lost to.
It's a logical
They
one.
they lose to Vegas, right?
They did.
Okay, I was gonna say Edmonton, but you said logical.
Yeah. It was at home, 5-4. That was the one where we lost it. We were up 4-3 or 4-2,
Ah,
and then
classic.
still the week though that we beat Colorado, then Vegas, and then San
Right.
Jose. So and the Kings, yeah, and Buffalo. We could have gone 6 in a row there. Yeah,
Could have, didn't,
could have.
unfortunately.
But
So that where does that take us right now? Canucks are 33 points in 33 games,
yep,
500 per
yep,
15 and 3.
yep.
Playoff bar in the West right now is 39 points with Calgary. Canucks secondly have 2 games in hand on them, but
Yeah.
points percentage wise, they're sitting a bit outside.
Yeah.
You could look at a team like Seattle falling out of it. You could look at a team like Edmonton falling out of it as well, but I feel like McDavid might will them in. Where do you think the Athletic has the Canucks odds right now?
I always overshoot this like by 20%. So I was gonna say 35, so 15.
How about 10?
Suck, man.
Yeah,
10.
yeah, they are given 10% odds right now to make it. Yeah, it's because they're projecting basically 4 teams out of the Central: Dallas, Colorado, Winnipeg, Montreal, Minnesota, not Montreal,
Yeah.
and then Vegas and Calgary. They're really high on Calgary. They're 92%.
Really?
Yeah, and then Edmonton at 77, and then LA and Seattle both at around 65.
We're at
So
10?
basically, between Edmonton, LA, and Seattle, 2 of those 3 will make it. So they're all around 2/3 of a chance.
Man, 10%. That's even worse than my accounting grades. That's not good. I was gonna ask you too before we jump off, or maybe we're not going to. After the Thursday night game where PD had 5 points, I was thinking, man, if PD is our 1C, if Miller just learns how to play defense and is a solid 2C, I'm setting this up to a Horvat trade, obviously, and then you have your fourth line of, say, Oman is your fourth line center. So then you just got to figure out what you're gonna do in 3C. Is that a Lazar? Is Pettersson play center? Who knows? But then I thought, yeah, then maybe you don't need Horvat. You could get a huge haul for him, and then he turns around and gets 4 points the next night, which I guess it doesn't disprove my theory. You can still get a huge haul for him.
Yeah, the thing is, right? Like centers are hard, and JT Miller, I just don't think is a center. Every time,
Yeah.
everything we've looked at has shown us that he's just a better player when he's on the wing, usually.
Yeah.
So I am, but again, I don't think this isn't really a playoff team right now, right? Like
Yeah.
again, what you're gonna sneak into the playoffs, or not even, you're gonna finish with 88 points and miss the mark and pick 13th in the draft. Like it's not conducive to future success, which not
Yeah.
much in this organization has been over the last while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
think you look at, I know someone mentioned that the Canucks schedule coming up is hard, right? This is going to be one of those stretches where, 2 weeks from now we're looking at it and we're like, all right, well, yeah, they're done, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like San Jose tomorrow, that's fine. They have Winnipeg after that. Winnipeg's a good team right now. They're in
Yeah.
the playoff spot. Calgary is a good team on New Year's Eve. They got the Islanders. I don't know how the Islanders are doing. Not great, but better than the Canucks, you know. The Avs, the Jets, the Penguins, Tampa, Florida, Carolina, Tampa, Colorado, Edmonton, right? Like they go into a gauntlet from basically the 5th to the 21st, where every team they play, I would say is probably above the playoff bar. As long as is Florida above the playoff bar?
No, they're not.
Okay, well, Florida would be the only exception then.
Right.
But Florida's still good.
Oh man! So I'm trying to figure this out in my head. So if the Canucks, they're at 500 and they have 49 games left, but we've said even if you put a very modest 95-point playoff bar, they got to be 13 games over 500 in their final 49 games. 13 over 500 in their final 49.
So yeah, it's not good. We're talking about like 30 and 17.
Yeah, and 2. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Win 30 of their next 49 games doesn't seem too likely. But it is what they would
Actually,
need.
that's right. That's exactly what it is. 30, 17 and 2 or 29, 16 and whatever, 4. But yeah, they got to get, there's your 62 points you got to get to 95. Well, yikes.
Well, they just need to keep playing teams in the Pacific. That's really the key. So what do they got coming up? Let's do a quick preview of the week here. 3 games before we reconvene on January 2nd.
Yes.
And that is Canucks Sharks tomorrow at home. Canucks should be a favorite here.
That's a win. Both games against San Jose, they've been exciting. They've been kind of barn burners.
Both in OT.
Yeah. So let's go Canucks. Canucks will win tomorrow.
And then Thursday, they go off to Winnipeg against the Jets. This is a tough one. The Jets are looking really good right now. I would say they're definitely not the favorite in this one. And then they have the Flames on Saturday on New Year's Eve in Calgary as well. So, I mean, odds will be 1 and 2. But you got to hope, Canucks are good on the road. They're good against the Pacific Division. Maybe they pull that game off at Calgary, and we're talking about a 2-1 week.
I agree. Hey, I didn't watch the December 17th 5-1 loss against Winnipeg at home. I'm not sure if you were there or you watched it because we haven't done it.
I don't remember it.
Yeah. Okay, good.
I have blocked that one out.
It doesn't sound good if we lost 5-1.
No, it wasn't. And I think there's a reason I don't remember it. I probably just zoned out and did something else for a good chunk of that one.
Yeah. So I agree with you. By stats, it should be 1 and 2, but we played well against Calgary. We beat them last time we were there. So maybe we go 2-1, but then that's only one game. You gain a game, but you've knocked off another 3. So they're going to have to basically do that every 3 games. Yeah. 16 times. Yeah. They're going to have to be 1 game over 500. So
they have to win the week every week.
Yep. Win
just
the week.
Like last year. They're in a better spot than they were last year. Cause remember they were 8-15-2. Now they're 15-15-3. Yeah. So, but wait, they did win a bunch of games in a row after Boudreau got hired. So they are kind of in the same spot as last year. Think about it.
They got to 500 on New Year's Day, so we're a week ahead of schedule, basically.
Well, who knows? They could be below it by New Year's Day this year again. But
it could be 18-15-3.
Could be, and that's a playoff team right there. Just barely.
Yeah.
All right. Where do we go now? You mentioned Canucks-based conversations. Any topics? Any news coming around lately? Not really. Hey, just
not really.
Showering of love on Pettersson.
Yeah, and I think maybe we should spend a couple minutes on it. We titled it that, and it's been wonderful to see. But it's kind of nice to have no news for once. Remember, there was that month where it seemed like every week there's something crazy happening between Dory and Hall of Fame and Besser getting scratched and then not scratched. Yeah, so. The last 2 weeks have been kind of normal, actually, because they've only played 5 games. But let's talk about Petey and just his emergence this year. Okay, I can't remember. Our shows around this time last year, we weren't down on Petey, were we? Weren't we saying he was too good to be this bad?
Yeah, that's what we said. We said he's too good for this to be a trend, right? He's in a slump. Like there's no way that this affects him in like that far out in the future. No. And we were right, like emphatically correct. He is showing how much he can actually be a team carrying superstar this year, right? We're talking about a guy who in his last 82 games, I think he has 91 points and like 40 something goals. Like he is genuinely, a top NHL player at this point. And that game showed it, right? Especially, the game on Thursday where his team is down and he just completely wills them to win the entire way while being sick. The Canucks are lucky to have him, and they, that bridge deal is not looking great that they have him on, right? Where he's an RFA after next season. He's going to be making, he's going to be in the 8 digits and hopefully still be a bargain at that rate.
11th, tied for 11th in NHL scoring at 41 points, but in only 31 games. So not only Canucks have only played 33, but he also missed 2 of them. So he's tied with guys that have played 35 and 36 games in Panarin, Nuge, and Ovechkin. So picture that. He's in essence a top 10 scorer in the league right now. So this is kind of what we were hoping for. Slow start last year made this impossible, but yeah, I could see him hanging around this group of players for the rest of the year for sure.
Yeah, points per game wise, he is ninth, but he's
Nice.
behind Nick Ehlers, who has 3 points in 2 games. So he's eighth effectively in the NHL of anyone who's played a significant amount of time. Yeah, that's it's a top 10 player in the NHL, and you look at centers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's right now he's the 5th center in points in the NHL, which is big. And of all those, he's number 2 in like plus minus. He's like all the stats. He doesn't have like an egregious shooting percentage, right? Under 15%. So like maybe a slightly high, but he gets so many just primary assists, right?
Right.
That's his bread and butter. And he has way less power play points than almost everyone else on this list, right?
That's weird.
Like if we go by even strength points, Elias Pettersson is 7th in the NHL. Because Connor McDavid has 31 or 34 power play points, which is absurd. But
that, and then I don't know. Obviously, I'm not blaming Demko for this season, but imagine if Demko had been at the top of the game, or even just a little bit better. Or I guess you could say that about a lot of things. But and there's also nights where, but maybe there's simply not enough pucks to go around. But I would love to see a night where guys like PD, Miller, and Horvat all explode on the same night. Or I guess maybe it's better that at least one of them does every single, 5 for PD on Thursday, 4 for Horvat. But there's just so many things where that's why this team. So, and I'm trying to not have my blinders on and be the false optimist, but aside from our defense, you think that there's enough pieces where if everything is going, they can at least compete for a playoff spot as opposed to being 6 points out. It's kind of frustrating for sure.
Yeah, and it's just they allow too many goals. That's all it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you go by goals for per game. The Canucks are 8th in the league, right? They have offense. They're scoring 3.4 goals per game.
What are we giving up?
That's the problem. They're giving up almost 4 goals per game, 3.88, third most in the NHL, right? They have, once again, the worst penalty kill in the NHL at 68.4%, which isn't enough to balance out their 7th best power play in the NHL, right? This is an absolutely lethal power play. It's a lethal offense as a whole. They can't prevent the other teams from scoring 4 goals in a game. Yeah. And that's one of those things where if they were league average in goals against per game, right, which would be like 3.2, and that's a huge difference, right? 0.6, 0.7 goals per game. That adds up a lot.
Yeah, times 30 games. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's 20 goals.
Man, so yeah, it's fascinating to think about his next contract because as an RFA, we can start talking to him this summer while his last year plays out. So you think he's a $10 million guy, eh?
Oh, easy.
Yeah?
Easy.
Not 9, 9.5, 9 3/4.
If the Canucks sign him for that, I love that. And maybe that is where it ends up, something like 9.
Sure.
But I mean, this is going to be his big contract theoretically, right? Like it should be max term. And the cap should be going up not next year, but the year after, which is when it's up. Right. I remember looking, like, you look back at that Connor McDavid contract when it got signed, 12.5 for 8 years. And everyone's like, oh, he's great. That's a lot of money. And he's so worth it. Right.
Yes.
It's not his fault that the team construction around him is awful. Right. That's why I like those, sort of player cards that The Athletic does, where it shows you, how much each player is worth right now. And I'll see if I can pull that up. Let's see if I can find it really fast.
Yeah, he's worth a lot. I know that.
But yeah, it's probably in the tens of millions, I would have to guess, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. I was thinking I wanted to ask you this too and let me know, just interrupt me if you find it actually.
I'll be a minute.
Okay. On Sportsnet 650, oftentimes, Parker, they talk a lot about contract value as in total, not as in per year. And they always say, Horvat's going to want 50 million. And of course, intuitively, the more years that covers, the less per year that amounts to. But I kind of don't get that, because isn't the comparable and what's important what it counts towards the cap. So that's an annual figure. Like I kind
Yeah.
of get, it's nice to say you're a 50 million player, a $50 million, $60 million player, but they emphasize it so much that I think I'm missing something or something.
Yeah, that seems weird to me as well.
Yeah.
Because like if anything, it's like, um, yeah, I don't know. Like unless there's like big signing bonuses and stuff like that
Yeah.
you want the money earlier. But
Oh, that's true. That's true.
yeah, but still, that is kind of odd.
Yeah.
Pettersson's at 10.2 market value, but this was not updated recently. This was updated about a week ago, December 19th.
Okay.
So that's before his 5-point game, which I'm sure brings it up a little bit. But yeah, he'll probably, we're talking 2 years from now. If he's a 90-point player this year and next, right? Then yeah, like we're like that's a $10 million player nowadays for sure for number one center.
Can you find McDavid's real quick? I know we did this one show ago, but I
Yeah.
mean a couple shows ago, but just McDavid.
I can try, but I don't have all the links up. But I know where it
Okay,
was. I saw it.
No
Edmonton
problem.
Oilers, Connor McDavid, market
18.
value. They don't even put a number on anymore.
Oh,
It just
what does
says
that mean?
league max. Because I think the league max is like 14 something, almost 15 million.
Okay.
And I guess they've made it so it can't exceed that. But I think it was like 20 last time we looked.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, league max.
So how do you feel? And before we get to the World Juniors, and then we can go to the people. How do you feel about this team right now, just overall?
If I'm frustrated, right? Like it's like they're good, like offensively, they're really good. They just can't put it all together, and it's like they're looking at how close they are to being good enough to at least like compete for a playoff spot or make it interesting. But it's just the floundering, right? It's those 2 5-1 games. And then those 2 5-1 games make you think back to the games that they won and like, okay, well, they were like all in overtime and they kind of barely pulled them out and they allowed a bunch of goals anyways, right? Like there's a lot of negative stuff around the team because they're allowing 4 goals a game. Right? That's really it. They're fun to watch, the guys like Mikheyev, Kuzmenko, Pettersson, Horvat right now. They're a really fun team to be watching night in, night out.
Yes,
But they're not a fun team to be rooting for when they lose as much as they do.
Yeah. I think that's fair. And I guess I got to stop saying, well, let's see how they're doing at the end of this week because you're simply going to run out of weeks.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Yeah, you can continue to go 500 pace for weeks and weeks and weeks, but eventually, you run out of weeks because 500 is not good enough.
Speaking of not good enough, World Juniors open today.
Yeah. Canada kind of got run out of the building by the Czech.
Surprise.
Look, I just what I noticed in this game is I miss NHL playoff hockey because just like I was just sitting there watching the first period and it's so fast. It is constant. Everyone is just giving 110% constantly. Like everyone is skating at full speed 100% of the time. Like breakouts, there's no everyone's sort of waiting back. One guy sort of curls back in and they go like slow and like methodical through the neutral zone. It's all right. Pass it up to guy at center, dump it in. Everyone's going full speed and everyone's going full speed the other way. It was so fun. But Canada, they couldn't score enough, which is surprising with the amount of scoring talent they have, but the Czech goalie was really good, and Canada's goalie wasn't, and that was really a big piece of that game. They got that one hit to the head penalty, that 5-minute major that did them in, which iffy call, but I can see why they called it. It was not a great performance. Hopefully a wake-up call, right? I don't feel as invested as I have in the past to be yet. It's opening day, and I'm sure when they play the US, if that comes about, then I'll be more invested because those are always fun. But it was just not a great showing.
And Parker, I was going to ask, this is so interesting. I was out, so I only caught the third period. But when I went on Twitter, no joke, the first 4 tweets I saw was someone complaining about the goal song, not the actual song, but the fact that they made a big deal about hiding it. Another person saying, I actually like it when Canada loses. Another person saying, I always, it's always nice to cheer for the underdog. So it's funny. The first 3 or 4 tweets I saw had some hint of, I don't say cheering against Canada or whatever. So, and I don't know if they're just saying that because it was 5-2 at the time or whatever, but I was surprised to see that kind of sentiment on there. And maybe just like some Canucks fans kind of get down and kind of jump on the team a little bit, maybe too much. Maybe it was a bit of that, or maybe you just kind of, I don't know. It was kind of weird.
Yeah. And if it was against like the US or against Sweden or Finland, like one of the sort of the powerhouse teams, then I'd be like, oh, we got to beat those guys. Yeah. When it is a team like the Czech or Switzerland earlier today, it's like, at least it's a cool story, right? Yeah. Because I don't think Canada's dead in the water because of that loss, right?
No.
It's a bad sign, and they need to step it up. But if maybe that was a game that's like they either make it through group stage or not, then I care a bit more.
Right.
But I was also like, man, the Czech looked good. Like they looked surprisingly good. I don't know if you saw the Michigan discourse.
No, I didn't. Did someone try it?
2 people tried it. Fantilli and Bedard both tried Michigan's in the first period. Neither worked. Now, obviously, you get to the panel and you get the old. I think it was like Jeff O'Neill or something, right? Like you get the older guys who are like played in the league, were bruisers or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, you're hyping yourself up. You think you're better than you are, and all this stuff." And then I think Ray Ferraro's tweeting like, "I don't know, it's a sweet scoring opportunity." Like they almost scored. And you look at the plays, and it's like, Fantilli's. He could have made the pass out front before it went behind the net, but when he did go behind the net and he executed it perfectly, defender just slashed his stick, like played it well. But if he had tried a wraparound, no one's going to be like, oh, you're trying a wraparound, you're showboating, right? It's the same thing, but one's in the air and one's not. And then Bedard's is pretty good as well. And neither of them scored, but they had the space to try it, and it would have been, if they had done it though, everyone would have been, oh, it's amazing, right? But yeah, just I was getting mad just like scrolling Twitter, people like, oh, well, it's 0 for 2. It's like, yeah, so are like shots from the point usually, right? Those go in 2% of the time, but people keep trying those. So
you're right.
I thought it was funny.
If it's at the expense of a better scoring chance, then of course, then you can question it. But no, if you're trying to make something out of nothing, then why not? And by the way, just before we get Carol, thank you for the donation. Hi, Parker. Hi, Clay. I hope you both had a great Christmas. Great to see you back from Disneyland, Clay. Well, thank you. Yes, I'm back, and I hope you had a great time. I did indeed. Thank you, Carol, and thank you very much for the donation. So here's the thing, Parker. Yeah, I agree with you. This wasn't a game, a tournament deciding game. All you have to do is not finish last, and then you advance. Of course, the higher you finish in your pool, conceivably, you're in theory you're facing against a lower, seeded team from the other side. But all the Canucks got to do is make sure they finish ahead of Austria, who lost 11-0 today. So I think we're okay.
Should be doable. Definitely should be doable. You would hope. But yeah,
you'd hope.
0-1, but they got home ice advantage. I'm sure they'll be fine. Yeah. This was not the most important one.
By the way, I'm looking at the Hockey Canada standings, and it's weird. For every team, they have their flag, Parker, in the standings, but then for Canada, they have the Team Canada logo. It's so weird.
That is odd. Yeah. What do you think? I saw some discourse on this as well. What do you think about their new uniforms? The Canada kits, as you would call it.
You know what? It's funny. People know I'm not big. I have a decent eye for things, but I don't study or get excited when new unis come out. Don't buy them, blah, blah, blah.
I guess they're not new. I think they had the red ones last year.
I guess I didn't even notice until you just said something. Like I didn't even think of it.
They're pretty sweet. They're pretty sweet. They did wear them last year as well.
Okay.
But they have like they have like the Maple Leaf socks and the whole the whole thing. They're pretty sweet.
Okay, I'll pay. So I'll watch the highlights again, and I'll pay attention to 2 things: the 2 Michigan attempts that all the old guys don't like, and then how they looked while doing them.
Perfect. All right, should we go to the people?
Let's do that.
I saw that you. I'll start with my own. I saw you got to sit on the front for Splash Mountain. How was that?
Well, I knew, like, I played it up for Twitter. I knew what happens when you sit in the front, and then of course the kids are saying, well, we need the most weight in the front to get. They're a bunch of jerks, but yeah, it was thank God it was a nice day is
Yeah.
21, 22 degrees. So I'm not stupid. I'm not going to do it at 10 p.m. when it's 10 degrees. So it was fine, but it was actually it was wetter than I expected to be. I knew the iPhone was relatively safe, so I got some pretty good video out of it for sure. But thank you for asking. I've recovered.
No, I remember because we were there in March, and we had the same. We were going on. I'm like, I don't right, like you're not gonna get that, you get like soaked or anything. And we had this there was like an 8-year-old kid sitting at the front, and you could see him. They did the walk when you get off, and he's kind of like doing this because you're just soaked. And that's what it reminded me.
That is odd. Hey, were you there this past March? Was Rise up yet?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it's awesome.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think more rides are going to become more like that, where it's a lot of CGI and it's a lot of
experience.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of sit in something and it does all the work for you, as opposed to I don't know how. As opposed to I don't know. Less
I think you know what I mean.
Speed
and travel, but more of a show.
Exactly.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, we got some questions here. And it's all seems to be trade related, which is great. Let's see here. Peter says 2 questions. 1, what does a Horvat trade even look like? And 2, is this truly his last season as a Canuck? Well, let's start with the second one, because I say probably.
I do too.
So what do you think a Horvat trade looks like? I mean, we've heard rumors that they want players, right?
Yes.
They want young players. And there's a lot of people who are like, well, you should get draft picks. And it's like, well, those end up being players. Like, it's kind of the same thing if they're 1 or 2 years older. But
I also think I think I've told you this before, and I know I've vlogged about this. The term hockey trade, like I get it. They're saying trade for players that can play now, as opposed to a draft or prospect. But of course, they're all hockey trades because we're playing hockey. But I digress. I think it sounds like they want at least 2 guys that they can plug in now, a center and a defenseman. So maybe a trade for Horvat. I don't. Well, it depends on who's coming back. Obviously, it depends on their contract situation. But maybe they're looking at 2 guys that are in their early to mid 20s and a future. So maybe 2 or 3 assets. I think. I don't think you're getting more than that. But that's, I think, what they want.
Yeah, we're so used to like a first round pick being a part of every big player trade, and if that isn't included, people think of it as kind of like a failure. But you think about a contending team, first round picks in the 20s or whatever, and that's usually not, it might not be the most valuable piece that you can get, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're getting multiple of them, or unless you're getting them from the Denver Broncos. So I think that going with if there's some really highly touted prospect that you can pull, right, then that's just as good as having like a higher pick. But yeah, I think it'll be a handful of decent pieces, and something that maybe you can either flip, or maybe you can hope that you can develop into good players in the future.
Yeah. Are you fine with it being a quote hockey trade as opposed to a picks and prospects trade?
Sure. I don't know. As long as the value's there, right? Yeah. Again, if it's a 20-year-old player who's looking really good compared to a mid of the first round draft pick, like, again, it's just a 2-year difference. It's not that much of a difference.
Nope. Good answer. I really like this question by Sammy. What is a realistic trade package for Kuzmenko? It's not often that a near point per game player on an entry-level contract is available for trade. I like this question, Parker, because lost amidst all this Horvat talk is, what are we going to do with this guy? Because he's going to be a UFA, and are we going to have money? I guess part of moving Horvat is we will have money if we wanted to do something like re-sign Kuzmenko. Some are saying it could be as high as 5.5 to 6. Others say maybe 4.5 to 5. Whatever. It's going to cost more than 3.5 to 4. So we need some money.
If it's 5.5 to 6, I'm saying just take it and run. Like, you keep him. That seems like such a steal for a guy who's a point of game player. He has looked fantastic. He's a fan favorite already. I mean, he's literally, the athletic player card, his market value is $7.6 million right now.
Wow.
Right. So if we're talking 5.5 for a handful of years, right, like something like the Horvat contract from before, I think it's a slam dunk, right? You just get it done, you keep him, and you have a good player for years to come. But if you do have to trade him, I think I think so. I think they're
Yeah.
smart enough to realize that if it's like $5.5 million or whatever,
Yeah.
that you're probably getting good value to that, right? This is the same group that signed Mikheyev to $5 million basically,
Yeah.
right? And for a player who isn't as good seemingly at this point as Andrei Kuzmenko, even though has been good. But yeah, if they do have to go the trade route, though, I mean, yeah, we're talking about a point per game winger who has no cap hit, right? That late in the year, retain half. Why not, right?
Yep.
Retain
Yep.
475K, right? Like we're literally talking about zero cap hit. That could be have a ton of value for any team.
Yep. Well, and there's something to be said about he can be to PD what we hope Besser would be. Basically, his running mate. They seem attached at the hip. At least on the ice, a lot of times you see one guy's name on the score sheet scoring. It's the other guy setting him up, getting the assist. So yeah, not only the fact that he's doing these points, but when you look situationally, I look at it as a positive, not a negative. It's not like, oh, let's see what he can do without PD. It's no, let's keep him with PD.
Right, because it's working for PD too, right?
Yes.
It's the two of them together, right? You've seen Mikheyev with them, it's worked. You've seen Lane Peterson with them, and it's worked.
Yeah.
Right. So him and Pettersson seem to be lots of people put players in pairs, right? You have sort of you have four pairs of players that you want to keep together, and you have supplementary pieces for each one, right? A Pettersson Kuzmenko pair seems fantastic. And seems like a great pair that you would love to have on that first line for a few years for sure.
Yep, I agree. Hey, I'm going to do this one real quick just because I want to acknowledge. I'll do double whammy. Justin, favorite memory of the trip? It was the very first ride we went on because it was the first time in 4 years that we did something, and it just made me smile. We did Guardians of the Galaxy, and we did that many, many times. And then your actual hockey question, over under OEL? I'm going over because coming into his first season with the Canucks, we knew that he was basically a 40 to 45 point a season guy, 0.5 points per game. He's on that pace right now. I think if he stays healthy, that he actually is going to hit 40 points. What do you say, Parker?
I take the under.
Yeah.
He hasn't hit 40 since 2019. It's not that long ago. But yeah, I don't know. I honestly, I was surprised to see that he already has 15 points, that he is on a 40-point pace. That seems a little bit high.
Yeah.
I think maybe he settles somewhere around like the 33 range, 32, 33 points.
Sure.
But somewhere around there.
Very fair. Very fair.
All right. What else do we have? Angus saying, do you think Tyler Myers will ever be a healthy scratch this season?
Wow, they've scratched Besser. No, they're going to. They've scratched Garland. They've scratched Kuzmenko. Are those the big ones up front?
Yeah, and then on the back end, they've scratched everyone basically, right? Bear's been scratched, Dillman's been scratched, Burroughs has been scratched.
Yeah, well, yeah, they've scratched the bottom three. Yeah, you're right.
Which is most of them.
Yeah.
They're all at the bottom. Does he get scratched? I think he'd have to have a real bad couple of games.
Yeah,
he's eating up like 20 minutes a night or more.
Yeah,
he's a +5.
Oh, I was just okay. You saw it. Yeah, that surprises me.
Yeah, me too. He's statistically he's one of their better defensemen. Analytically, he's not right.
Who scores first, him or Hughes?
League min. I think Tyler Myers scores first, just because the hockey world makes no sense. Yeah, I could see him getting scratched at some point, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I would see him scratch Parker at the end of the season more to get a young guy in as opposed to a performance related one. But you never know.
Right. Yeah, and it's like who are you putting in his place, right? Because right now it's a Stillman or a Burroughs.
Yeah.
Maybe Travis Dermott, but again, then it's Stillman or Burroughs in the 6th spot who you'd have to want in instead of Myers. So yeah, it just doesn't seem that likely.
Sure. I'm going to show my ignorance here. Gravity, who loves a smart kid, thought Alex Wenberg, Ryan Donato, Will Borgen, and a 2023 first was enough for Horvat. So 4 assets. I don't think bottom sixers are worth almost a 60 goal pace. Yeah, there's not a name in there that gets me super excited, I must admit.
No, Wenberg's fine.
Yep.
But he's fine. I mean, he's a UFA after next season as well.
Okay.
Right? So I don't know if that helps that much. He's getting paid
Yeah.
4.5. Will Borgen doesn't do anything for me. Ryan Donato, I think has he gotten worse? Yeah, he has 10 points in 28 games, right? Yeah, bottom six at this point.
And Seattle's
Right.
first will be at this point somewhere in the probably 15 to 20 range.
Right. And if
Yeah.
we're talking about, adding up a bunch of pieces like in NHL in the video games, right? Or you keep just adding like small pieces until it finally says accepted. Right. Eventually, the sum, it stops being worth it, right? If it takes, four pieces in this case to add up to Bo Horvat, well, none of those four pieces are probably very good. I would rather them trade for like two pieces that are both better, right? Instead of having a bunch of, you can get a Ryan Donato in free agency. You can get a Will Borgen in free agency.
Yeah.
The first is nice. But again, 15 to 20 pick. Maybe you can use that as currency elsewhere. And you could sort of use, I think that would be a trade where that's the first of a chain, right?
Yeah,
You're then
good point.
also trading Ryan Donato. Or maybe you're saying, okay, Ryan Donato, you are now our 3C behind Petey and Miller. And then we're going to flip Alex Wenberg or
Right.
something along those lines. Or the opposite, right? But I don't think, I don't know. I don't think it makes you a better team in the future, right? We're doing Donato's 26, Wenberg's 28. So I think Wenberg was the same draft class as Horvat. And Donato was the year following. That's not super conducive to getting younger and being competitive, sort of growing into a competitive core.
Right. I'm gonna have to check out. I don't know if Gravity did a whole video on Horvat trade proposals, but that would be interesting to me to see. I always like to hear what people outside of this market think about him, and just kind of. I don't know if you ever do this, Parker. I think I've told you this. I love after a Canucks win to watch the post game press conference of the opposite team's coach, just to see if they actually give the Canucks any credit or if they say it's their team, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of petty that way.
Justin says, do we leave Höglander and Podkolzin in Abbey for the rest of the year, develop properly if no further injuries obviously necessitate one of them being called up?
I have no problem doing that.
I don't either.
Yeah.
So Podkolzin has played 11 games down there. He's got 7 points, so he's doing absolutely fine. Höglander's just played 2 games down there because he was obviously sent down after. Doesn't have any points, but he has a +2. Look, Podkolzin's 21, Höglander's 22.
Yep.
These are the guys that you want to have be, good pieces for you in the future, right?
Yeah.
And if it, were they contributing much to the team right now? No. Right. Do you need them right now? No, because you're not really in the mix.
Right.
And you'd probably rather have a Sheldon Dries in there than one of these guys right now.
Yeah.
I think you get them ice time, you get them confident, you get them, working on being a top line player down there, and then hopefully that can translate.
And I know we talked about this 2 shows ago or 3 shows ago, Parker. Tage Thompson, we know what he's doing right now. He was a late first round pick. His first season, 9 points. Second season, 12 points. Third season, he played 1 game, no points. Fourth season, he only had 14 and 38, and he didn't explode until his 5th full season when he went 68 and 78. So, yeah, exactly what you said. Podkolzin is only in his second year. And I'm not saying Justin was complaining at all. He was just asking us. To that point, I have no problem with them getting more reps down in Abbotsford.
Yeah, fully agree.
Yeah.
All right. Any more you want to take? We got 1 minute left.
And what's everyone doing? Like, we had half the show was like 40, 50 people. Now we're about to wrap up. We crested near 100.
Yeah, it spiked at 10:30, and I have no idea why it just shot up.
And I forgot to. I don't think either of us tweeted it tonight too.
Nope,
that was our.
didn't.
Yeah. We're rusty.
If you haven't yet, hit the like button. Do that and subscribe.
Thank you. Carol asks, this is a good question because I want to know too. How is Dermott doing? Yes, he's fully cleared to play, Carol. So that's a good sign. But he was knowing that the Canucks only had a few games. He was actually sent to Abbotsford. Can you check, Parker? Has he actually played, or is he just doing practicing with them? Because it's a conditioning stint.
He played one game. It looks like.
Okay.
I can't prove it. It says he's played one game. I don't know if that was now. It had to have been now.
Right.
So yeah, I think he's allowed to. I don't know exactly how it works. It's like you get like a week or something, or 3 games maybe on a conditioning stint. So I imagine he'll play a couple of games down there. Either that or we see him called up tomorrow, right? It could be one of those things where they wait till the day of, make a quick flip, and then we see Dermott in line tomorrow.
Awesome. And just as we wrap up, 2 really quick ones because I think it's really good. Virtual Reality says a hockey trade refers to a classic pre-cap trade as opposed to more modern and boring cash cap transaction. That's fair. Thank you for that. And lastly, I just want to show. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, when I was asking about Gravity and Horvat, it says he did a whole video and it was released 10 days ago. Okay, I will look that up. Thank you, Jaskrin, because always good to hear what other people have to say about our guys.
Excellent.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's it for 2022. We are going to wrap up there. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit like, hit subscribe. If you missed any part of the show, which most of you did because the viewership spiked at like 10:40, 10:35, you can rewind back to the beginning and catch up where we talked about the last 2 Canucks games and Elias Pettersson and World Juniors. Or you can find it on your favorite podcast platform in a matter of 10, 15 minutes or so. Clay, any parting words this evening?
Parker, is great to be back. It was great to reconnect and we got through the little dull part of the season, well, at least from a sparsity of games. So yeah, I'm at the game tomorrow night with my family, which I'm excited about. A chance to spend even more time with them, even though we were together for a full week. And yeah, I'm excited to see what happens for these last 3 games. As we talked about, winnable, but it will be quite challenging. But I want to thank everyone for their support over the past, as you said, a year and 8 months now, coming up in 2 years. Pretty exciting stuff.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Have a good New Year. We will see you next time.